The Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has postponed the cross-examination of State Security boss Robert McBride. McBride's appearance at the State Capture Commission was only confirmed this morning. He last appeared before the inquiry in 2019. McBride was appointed head of the State Security Agency's foreign branch in April this year and was the former head of the police watchdog IPID. In March of 2015, he was suspended from his position by the then Minister of Police, Nathi Nhleko. The decision was set aside by the Constitutional Court in September of 2016. McBride also belonged to Umkhonto Wesizwe, the armed wing of the African National Congress.
I was going to hear argument about it being convenient that we postpone the matter to Thursday, and I might have been persuaded that that's what we should do. But the fact that there have been logistical and administrative challenges relating to the bundles from the Commission side counts strongly in favor of a postponement. I have been kept up to date about the challenge. I know that it is not the fault of the legal team. But it's unfortunate, but it's going to be addressed. It's a pity that we find ourselves in this situation. I know that counsel for Brigadier Ngubeni indicated that although their preference was going to be that the matter be postponed to next week, if I decided that we should proceed, they would do their best to proceed. But I think that the issue of the challenges from within the Commission outweigh everything in regard to the bundles. So I will postpone the hearing of the evidence of Brigadier Ngubeni and the cross-examination of Mr. McBride that was going to take place today. It will now then take place next Thursday, when another implicated person was going to give evidence and I think to cross-examine as well, General Babula.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Yes, so we'll postpone the hearing of Mr. Ngubeni's evidence and the cross-examination of Mr. McBride to next Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Now, for more on the happenings at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, we joined in the studio by our reporter Tumaole Mohlaoli, who has been following the proceedings closely. A rather interesting day at the State Capture Commission today, but perhaps let's start here with Robert McBride. Why the secrecy around his appearance?
Indeed, a very interesting day, Thami. And I think what's very important about the secrecy around Mr. McBride's appearance is the fact that we're dealing with the country's spy boss, so to speak. This is the man now who is, of course, the State Security Agency's boss. So it's not someone who would just, have his movements regularly known, because you're dealing with, cloak and dagger stuff when you're dealing with a State Security Agency. I kind of got an idea that something was amiss because when the advisory was given initially about Mr. McBride's appearance, it was just, stated as an appearance by a State Security Agency member, and we weren't given any more information about that. And then when he did appear, then of course we knew that it was the matter where Mr. McBride would be before the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. And then of course we had to have this particular postponement by the Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo for next week, relating to some technical issues. As he said in the clip there, it was basically to no one's fault. It was just a technical issue which relates to some bundles in terms of the evidence that has to be brought forward before the Commission.
Perhaps just to put this in context for us, we've spoken a bit about Robert McBride, a bit about his history, but if you could contextualize why his testimony is crucial and critical for the Commission's work.
Well, his testimony will be speaking about, allegations of how the state capture project was affecting the security cluster. Robert McBride was, of course, ahead of the watchdog IPID, which was, of course, tasked with overseeing and investigating allegations or irregularities in the police sector with policing. So testimony would be dealing with how interference in terms of trying to basically nullify its work in terms of the state capture project, how that came about. And his testimony will deal with how the IPID's work was continuously blocked from a high level when they were trying to look at allegations of irregularly issued tenders, irregularly issued contracts and things along those lines when it deals specifically with the policing sector. So this is what he will then have to come and testify and be cross-examined in front of the Commission.
Now, in situations like this, my understanding is that if you're going to be naming people, that there needs to be some sort of a forewarning for those people before they get mentioned. What is the situation around that in relation to McBride's anticipated testimony?
Well, indeed, this will have to be quite an interesting point of contention, but I don't think it will be necessarily anything that will be to deal with his new position. I think this testimony will have to be related to his former position when he was still IPID boss. So in that regard, I don't think there's anything untoward that has to be worried about. But what is interesting when you come back to today's particular proceedings is the fact that now currently we are having testimony by other unnamed if we can say...
well, they're secret witnesses,
yeah,
really.
Witnesses, unnamed witnesses.
Tell us about those secret witnesses and why they were giving their testimony in camera as well.
Yes. Now, these secret witnesses giving a testimony in camera speaks to the fact that this could be, of course, operatives from the intelligence sector, intelligence community. Now, they obviously would not be able to give a testimony in camera or in front of the Commission. So what Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has done is that he's given an order that only their audio will be broadcast via the Commission's various platforms. And even that audio, Thami, I must say, is going to be distorted. So this also speaks to the issue of course, the secrecy, because these are active field agents. This is what it would suggest, that these are members of the intelligence community that are actively involved in operations, that are now active in the front lines, and therefore they cannot be compromised. And so far as that is concerned, we also have that order by the Deputy Chief Justice that their location cannot also be made known. Another order that, of course, their evidence and testimony will then be sealed and will then be given and handled very carefully and then given over for evidence at a later stage.
Now that McBride's identity has been bust, now that everybody knows that he will be appearing once again at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, I'm just wondering, how does that then bode for the argument, the initial argument, that because of the profile that he has and because of all the security measures around him, that needs to be discreet? Now that we know that he will be appearing once again, is that no longer an issue?
I think it's no longer an issue for Robert McBride himself. I think the issue would have been around logistics because of the nature of the work that he does. It was one of those things where he could not perhaps confirm ahead of time what needed to be done in terms of where he would be. And now that we've been given those particular details, it won't necessarily be an issue because security will be taken care of, and we will just be looking forward to his testimony to see what he has to say about his time when he was still IPID boss.
And I'm sure he will have a lot to say. That was also a very, tumultuous time for him as head of IPED. Well, thank you so much for that, Tumaole. That's our Tumaole Mohlaoli, who's been following the State Capture Commission very closely.